Hello, I'm Alexis DeJeanette here at Axiom Space headquarters. Thank you for joining us today. This media event is on the record and being live streamed on axiomspace.com. I'm excited to introduce the crew of Axiom Mission 3, also called Ax-3, which is the third commercial astronaut mission and first all-European commercial astronaut mission to the International Space Station. The four-person crew is commanded by Michael López-Alegría of the US and Spain, pilot Walter Villadei of the Italian Air Force, and mission specialist Alper Gezeravcı, who will be the very first Turkish astronaut to go to space, and ESA project astronaut Marcus Wandt of Sweden. Ax-3 is targeted to launch no earlier than January 2024 from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and the crew is expected to spend up to 14 days docked to the space station. In a moment, I will turn it over to the Ax-3 crew for their opening remarks. Following remarks, we will open the line to questions from the media. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. As always with these events, please ensure your line is muted when not speaking. We'll now begin with Commander López-Alegría. Over to you.
Thanks, Alexis. I am Michael López-Alegría. I was born in Spain. My family immigrated to this country when I was a small boy, so I grew up here. And it's my honor to lead this group of fine gentlemen on the Ax-3 mission. It is a remarkable increase in the amount of collaboration between us and European countries and really positions them at the forefront of this commercial human spaceflight enterprise. Ax-3 represents Axiom's efforts to increase the possibilities for governments, private researchers, countries, academic institutions, and other organizations to access the unique microgravity environment in low Earth orbit. And we are also embarking on an important next step to the Axiom Station, the first commercial space station in the world and a successor to the ISS. We're proving that we can work alongside NASA to develop commercial private missions, and we hope to continue the ISS's important legacy in research in low Earth orbit. It is my hope and actually my expectation that other countries will be inspired by this mission to pursue the unique opportunities available to them now with the commercialization of low Earth orbit. The crew and I have been busy training since the end of April. We are learning to work and live aboard the two spacecrafts that will be our homes throughout the mission. First, of course, is the International Space Station. The training for that occurs right next door here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. And then the Crew Dragon capsule, which will serve as our transit vehicle to and from the ISS. Most of that training is occurring at the Hawthorne facility near Los Angeles, California by SpaceX. I can tell you the crew is very well along in our training, and I fully expect that we'll be ready to go in January. Now I'd like to pass the word to my colleague, pilot Colonel Walter Villadei of the Italian Air Force.
Thank you, Mike. It's a very privilege, it's a big honor to be the pilot of Ax-3 mission. And first of all, let me express my gratitude to the Italian Air Force and to my country for this incredible opportunity that is joining this endeavor. So Ax-3 mission is for Italy a groundbreaking mission, is one fundamental pillar of our national space strategy. As our Prime Minister stated a few days ago, the mission is a unique opportunity to benefit the commercial, the private, the academic, the scientific and industrial community, and also to gain a relevant role in the new space economy and then the commercial activities in LEO orbit. Is a whole of a country effort in promoting a safer, wider and resilient access to space. For the first time, the mission will led by the Ministry of Defense and the Italian Air Force as one of the most knowledgeable Italian institutions in space domain, along with the important partnership with the Italian Space Agency. This mission, along with the MOU that Italy signed with Axiom Space in 2022, will enable Italy to play a wider role in the dialogue in this sector at the European level and international level. And I personally believe that the space is already the frontier where we are expanding our science and technology. And I'm sure that Ax-3 will contribute to further expanding our knowledge, to shaping a new model to access to space, and to inspire the young generation to pursue their dreams and to look at space as a real opportunity. So thank you again for this opportunity, and I want to hand over to my colleague, Colonel Alper Gezeravcı from Turkish Air Force.
Thank you, Walter. Hello, I am Alper Gezeravcı, Axiom 3 Mission Specialist. I am honored and humbled to be the first ever Turkish astronaut to go to the space. I'm grateful to my country and my government for giving me this chance, not only for myself, but for the future of Turkish young generations. In my career, I have served as a fighter pilot in the Turkish Air Force, as well as being a captain in Turkish Airlines. I have over 20 years of flight experience on multiple aircraft. I look forward to representing and serving my country on this historic mission, carrying my country's space journey exploration initiatives at the furthermost research platform of humanity, ISS. This mission is going to put a remarkable footprint on our prideful centennial. This mission is going to solidify the unity of Turkish people, a nation which was devastated by a recent natural disaster, and it will cherish our hopes. I'm looking forward to. And now I am passing it over to my dear friend, Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Wandt, is a project astronaut from Sweden.
Thank you, Alper. I'm also, of course, very excited and very happy to be a part of this mission and this great crew. I'm also proud of being trusted by Sweden and Europe to represent in space and throughout this mission, which to me is so much more than the 14 plus days in space. I have a background as a fighter pilot and a test pilot as well, and seeing how this mission came together in Sweden, and seeing the government and the governmental agencies, the industry and the private actors, the commercial sector, and the armed forces and academia come together in a very decisive and strong way. And then together with ESA and Axiom making this possible, that was very inspiring, and it's great being a part of this. The mission is significant in many ways. From a Swedish perspective, by together with ESA pioneering this way of gaining Europe access to space, Sweden is positioning itself and making sure that we continue to be the knowledge base and the high-tech producing country that we are. From a European perspective, this mission opens up a new way of getting access to space and making sure that we have an even larger presence, European presence in human space exploration globally. And from my own perspective, this is a fantastic opportunity to be contributing to moving the boundaries or getting out to the limits of where we are, not only physically but also knowledge-wise, and be able to just by being there, and I believe just by being there and having that presence close to where we can reach both in knowledge and physically, we are lowering the threshold of continuing that exploration and reaching even further and learning even more. So needless to say, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to continuing being a part of this mission. With that, I'll hand it back to Mike.
Thanks, Marcus. I think you can see why I'm so proud to be leading these guys on this mission. It's an incredibly accomplished and prepared group, and we're really looking forward to flying together. Before we get to the Q&A, I wanted to take a moment to introduce the new Ax-3 patch, which we're unveiling today. Of course, the patch has a long tradition. Every space flight has one generally designed by the crew, and this is no different. This patch starts with the shape of a shield, which represents strength and courage. You can see the stylized International Space Station, but also it's meant to replicate aviator wings, as all four of us are military aviators. Of course, the 5 flags of the countries across the top, and the 4 stars representing the 4 European nations that are taking part. Plus Ultra at the bottom is our motto. Turns out it's also the motto of Spain, and it's actually a reversal of non Plus Ultra, which was originally thought to be inscribed on the Pillars of Hercules. So this is the gates of the Mediterranean when it was thought there was nothing beyond. And Plus Ultra actually means something or further beyond. And I think it's representative of what we're doing with the research that we'll be conducting aboard the ISS. Finally, you see the globe with the longitude and latitude lines, and I'll turn it over to Walter, Marcus, and Alper to discuss the significance of the digits there.
Thank you, Mike. That's an incredible opportunity to us. This mission is going over the centennial of the Italian Air Force. The Italian Air Force has been established back in March 28th, March 1923, so 100 years ago. And it's very important to us because it's an important opportunity to really celebrate and recall the core values of our armed forces, which is the commitment in defense of our country and our allies, but also the professionalism of people that every day is devoting and serving the country in trying to do their best in the job they have, and of course the passion of flying. We've been the 3rd country in the human history to fly to space, launching a satellite in December 64. So next year the mission is gonna be an amazing opportunity to celebrate our 60 years in space as Italy. And so this is very important for all of us, for the Air Force, especially because space program in Italy has been established with the Italian Air Force, and now the Air Force is looking at the space and the aerospace as a further environment and projection of our operational capabilities. So this mission is really to be a unique way, an important way to improve and increase our competencies, our skills in aerospace to do as much as the best we can our tasks. So this is very important to us, and I will hand over to Alper for the other meetings.
Thank you, Walter. Turkish Republic has been founded on the 29th of October 1923. So this is our centennial. Turkish Republic has been already celebrating the centennial in several fields and trying to inspire our young generations to come up with their ideas and cherish for the next centennial of the country. So we're so happy that we are stepping into the space for the first time in our history with a manned mission on this purpose and reflecting our centennial sign on our mission page over here in Axiom 3. And now I'm handing it over to Marcus.
Yes. Yeah, so Sweden is celebrating 500 years of independence this year. The 6th of June, 1523, Gustav Vasa was selected the King of Sweden by an assembly in Strängnäs, 59 kilometers west of Stockholm. And after his election, Sweden left the Kalmar Union with Denmark and Norway, making Sweden an independent country, which has been ever since. And that is celebrated this year. I also like to look at the perspective of time when you look 500 years back or 100 years back, and think about what's happened in the world, what development we had, and why we've had that development. And also putting that a little bit into the context what we are doing. I want our grandchildren's kids or grandchildren again to be thinking, well, luckily they didn't stop exploring, and luckily they kept learning. And what would have happened if they would have stopped 500 years ago, or 200 years ago, 100 years ago, the people that came before us. So that gives me a sense of responsibility for coming generations, and this is a very good way of taking that responsibility.
So great perspective from the 3 crew members representing the digits at the bottom of the patch. And I think that concludes our opening remarks, and we're looking very much forward to taking your questions. So Alexis, back to you.
Thank you. We'll now open the floor to reporter questions. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise your hand feature. To help keep us moving, please say your name, affiliation, and to whom you'd like to direct your question to. You can also follow the conversation on social media with the hashtag Ax-3. Please ask only one question when called on, and if time allows, we can take more. Thank you for your help in ensuring everyone has an opportunity to ask a question. As we get near the end, I will note the time and offer one last question. Let's begin. All right, we'll now begin with Martin Jens.
Yes, this is from Sweden. My name is Assa Stigma. I speak for Swedish TV4, and we have a question for our Swedish crew member, Marcus Wandt, please. If he could elaborate a little bit on what he is most looking forward to, and if there is anything that he is a bit hesitant about, that he kind of maybe not fears, but is unsure about.
So I understood the question was if there was anything I was hesitant or not sure about regarding the mission. And
what you look forward to.
Oh, and I look forward. Yeah, there are so many ways, so many things that I'm looking forward to. I think what I'm actually looking forward to the most is to be there and absorb and just have the experience of how it is to be in microgravity and be watching Earth from above and making those reflections. And then, of course, I'm also looking forward to all the tasks I have and accomplishing them and getting that data for the teams that they are looking for. And when it comes to anything I'm hesitant about, not really. The training has prepared us really well, and I feel very confident when it comes to the operations and how to execute our tasks. So no, as long as I get that time to absorb a little bit, I guess that might be the thing then.
Thank you. We now have Zeynep Duyar. Please ensure your mic is unmuted when you begin to speak.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm going to ask a question to Mr. Gezeravcı. This mission is Turkey's first human space flight mission, and you will be the first Turkish astronaut to accomplish it. How are you feeling? Is this responsibility heavy to carry? And I have another question to all of you. You served your country as a fighter pilot. You probably learned to be ready for many risky situations. And do you see the benefits of your job now? We know that astronauts are mostly fighter pilots. Why do you think this is so? Can you explain it?
Thanks so much for the question. With a single word, I absolutely feel great. I'm taking the responsibility and the privilege to be able to represent my country for a mission which is being carried out for the first time in our history. And no matter how hard, no matter how easy, I don't really focus on any kind of expectation. I'm ready to carry out the mission no matter how it turns out to be. As the Turkish Republic, as a country which is strong in its geography and strong with its history, they have chosen a Turkish citizen to be sent to the space for the first time in its history. So as of now, I am reflecting the same strength and the pride of the Turkish Republic into this mission, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. I'm now going to call on Jeff Faust. Over to you.
Good morning. It's Jeff Faust of Space News. Question for Mike LA. How has the training for Ax-3 changed based on your experience with both your own AX-1 mission and the AX-2 mission earlier this year?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for the question. Good to hear your voice. It has changed in a fairly significant way. I think we've learned from the two missions that have preceded this one how to really optimize the training. I think specifically we spent some time on AX-1 focusing on some things that probably weren't relevant for a private astronaut crew, and probably not enough time on certain things that are really relevant. And by that, I'm specifically referring to what we call ops products. So these are the things that we use on a daily basis to kind of manage our time and our day while we're up there. I also think the SpaceX training has evolved. They've become ever more efficient with each flow. And so I feel like we are sort of asymptotically getting toward that perfect answer, and I would say we are very close to it by the time we did this training on Ax-3.
Thank you, Ale. I now have Bill Boru. Please ensure your line is muted when you begin speaking.
Yes, hi. A question for Marcus. I'm from Swedish newspaper Ny Teknik. Marcus, you've been an astronaut, I think, less than a year or something, and a project astronaut now for a few months' time or half a year or something. Do you feel that the training you've gotten so far will be enough for the journey in January, or are you feeling confident about the training you've received?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really relevant question. Yeah, it's been going really fast. I feel very confident though, and the training has been good. And just as Mike mentioned right now, I feel that the focus have been on making the most important parts first. So I'm doing some, when it comes to my training, it's a little bit backwards. I'm doing the mission training first, and then we're building on the extra things that I didn't have from European Space Agency in the beginning, and we'll be filling that in. But also my background as an engineer and fighter pilot and test pilot has helped me a lot to be able to get that information, absorb it, and make something out of it. So I feel very well prepared, but we're doing this in a very high pace, I agree. Which is fun, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. We now have Zeynep Duyar.
Hi again. I have a question, all of you. You served your country as a fighter pilot. You probably learned to be ready for many risky situations. Do you see the benefits of your job now? And we know that astronauts are mostly fighter pilots. Why do you think this is so? Can you explain it? Thank you.
As a fighter pilot, we have already went through several years long hard training, both physically and mentally, how to handle different scenarios in both normal as well as emergency conditions. So having this experience and being able to reflect this into the space-related trainings that we have been going through for the last 5.5, almost 6 months long period, it really gave all of us the chance to be able to reflect that experience and the knowledge and how to handle all the new information and the training that we need to digest. That was a really big benefit for all of us.
I would also like to add that having that similar background, it might have worked anyway, but it's really bonding the crew, and we can see that when we're doing emergency training or unprepared, when we get surprised in the training, you can see that the train of thought and the way we execute checklists and cover for each other and help each other out works really well, and that might be a product of that as well.
And I would just add that if it isn't evident, it's really fortunate that this is an amazingly prepared crew. I mean, I think this is, for a private astronaut mission, it's exceptional, but really for any mission, the level of training and experiences that these folks bring to our crew is really remarkable. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing that put into practice when we get to orbit.
Thank you. And as a reminder, if you have a question for the crew today, please use the raise your hand feature in the chat. I'm now going to call on Will Robinson-Smith.
Hi, thanks for taking the time to answer our questions this morning. Question for Commander Mike L.A. Beyond this mission, looking towards the future, will Axiom bring on board any additional astronauts, former astronauts from NASA to command these missions in addition to yourself and Peggy Whitson, or will the two of you toggle back and forth between these private astronaut missions as they go forward? Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Great question. So far, we're toggling back and forth, as you can see. And I think it just depends on the demand of the private astronaut missions in the future. Obviously, when we have our commercial space station on board the ISS, it will be more difficult to do the sort of back and forth swapping. So I would say that we have some plans in the future to expand our astronaut corps to meet the demands. But for right now, the two of us are able to share the load quite nicely, and it's I don't have to tell you, it's quite a privilege to be able to fly to space this often, especially at this point in our careers.
Thank you, LA. We now have Matteo Marini.
Thank you. I'm Matteo Marini for La Repubblica. A question for Colonel Villadei. As a serving Air Force colonel and not an astronaut, what specific knowledge and know-how can a military member acquire and bring in terms of training and experimentation in view of the activities of the course to which you belong, and, for example, the activities of the Italian Space Operations Command? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I have to say that, of course, Italy has a unique position. We have been a long-lasting tradition in the human space flight. And I've been in training as a cosmonaut many years in Russia before the US opened up getting back to flying autonomously with the SpaceX and the Dragon. So in my view, Italy is bringing an added value at the European level, creating all of these opportunities to have a different background, different astronaut career and path that can, again, open up at the European level all the way down to the commercial space flight. So of course, to be in a kind of parallel path, as much as the other easy astronauts, is a different approach, but nevertheless, the training that we are supposed to go through is exactly the same based on the Axiom and NASA agreement, as much as the training I had previously in Russia as a cosmonaut. So it's a different approach, but I would highlight in this case that the Ax-3 mission and the partnership with Axiom is right away proving that the world is changing. We are really opening up to a new phase, the commercial space flight, the exploitation of the LEO Earth orbit. So whatever and all the things we are doing as an Air Force, first of all, to increase our skills and competencies in the aerospace. So if you know that space is a domain, is an environment where there are a lot of interest crossing each other, so we have to be ready. We need to know this environment. So from the ministry, defense, and the Air Force side, to have a professional training and flying on this kind of mission is a way to gather and to increase our competencies. And at the national level, we are partnering with the Italian Space Agency. So the goal of the mission will be to achieve lots of interesting experiments provided by the Italian Air Force, the Italian Space Agency, and there is another interesting point that I want to share with you from the privates. So we are really trying to create this new model at the national level, and this will bring an added value at the European one as well.
We will now try Marcia Melli again. Please ensure your line is muted when you begin speaking.
Okay, Marcia Melli from Sky TG24. I'm happy to be here to speak to you. My question is for Colonel Walter Villadei. I will pose the question in English, but I will ask Colonel Villadei to reply in Italian, please. Colonel Villadei, you are the tip of an iceberg of a country system that is working and cooperating to bring you in space. How does it feel to be in this situation? And what kind of Italy will you be bringing with you on the International Space Station?
All right, thank you so much for this question. Well, actually, yes, absolutely. I agree with the fact that astronauts are just the tip of the iceberg. There's a big and a huge team behind us, which is supporting to be ready to fly to space. In my specific case, of course, first of all, there's the Italian Air Force with all the long-lasting experience and training that I've been through during these years. But there's a huge system now that is gathering together for this specific mission, which is composed by, first of all, the Italian Space Agency, providing and partnering with ITAF, with Italian Air Force, to bring together these experiments from the research and academic community. And we have the privates that are showing a lot of interest in how to use and exploit the microgravity to push further the technology development. So my approach to this is, of course, I'm really honored and I feel the responsibility to do my best and try to support all these partners designers, as Italian Air Force officer, but also as a member of this amazing crew, just to achieve all our goals on ISS. It will be 2 weeks mission. That means we will have a very tight schedule. We need to work well and to adapt. It will be the first time to fly to space to me. So I'm really eager to see the ISS, to see how to work on it. Based also the knowledge that our commander is sharing with all of us, I think that it is a huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity really to prove that Italy can shape and model a new approach to the commercial space flight, just to expand the opportunity for all our national scientific and industrial community. So really, it's an honor to me to work as Air Force, but also as Italian astronaut on this mission, and try to do our best to carry out all the experiments that have been assigned to this mission.
Thank you, Walter. We now have William Hardwood on the line.
Hey, thanks very much. Question for Mike L.A., and it's kind of a follow-up to Jeff Faust's earlier question about lessons learned. After Ax-1 and Ax-2, was there any changes in terms of what Axiom's commercial crewmates here are allowed to do on ISS and things that are still hands-off, besides the obvious stuff? I mean, can you go over any restrictions, if there are any significant restrictions, that might still be in place? Thanks.
Yeah, so I think NASA has tweaked their policy toward what commercial activities can be performed on board. Honestly, they haven't really manifested themselves as changes to what we had planned for Ax-3. So my understanding, and I'm not a NASA policy guy, but it demonstrates how well we are working with NASA, which is a very important aspect of these private astronaut missions, is to try to establish this relationship and build up our operations and mission management teams so that we can seamlessly take over, be a commercial space station to succeed the ISS one day. So we are in constant daily, hourly, by the minute communication with our NASA counterparts, working on those very things that you asked about. But from a global perspective, it doesn't seem to me that our activities have been restricted beyond what they were on Ax-1 or Ax-2. I hope that answered your question.
We now have David Cenciotti on the line.
Good afternoon. I'm David Cenciotti from The Aviationist. I have a question for Colonel Villadei. And I would like to learn a bit more about the software, the Italian Space Operations Center software. I would like to learn how it can help improve the space situational awareness, because I know that is one of the reasons of his presence in this mission. So I would like to learn a bit more about this kind of experiment. Thank you.
So if I correctly understood, the question is related with one of our experiments, which is the one provided by Air Force related to the space situational awareness. This is an important experiment to the Air Force. Is a technological demo. So space situational awareness actually is just the reflection of a very important issue that we are facing in space. Space is going to be more and more congested since the increasing of the space activities. In 2015, at the European level, the European Commission established a consortium dealing with the space surveillance and tracking. It was created a consortium where Italy was among the founders nations, along with the others, including France, Spain, UK. And then this consortium has been expanded further to almost, 15 countries. So the main point is that we are trying to protect the infrastructure. So the idea of this experiment is based on some skills developed by the Italian Air Force and the SSA operational centers. It's based on a catalog that we are growing up, and a software which allow to get some mathematics into the software and try to get and to see which kind of risk we have in the collisions in between an infrastructure and the secondary objects, and is enriched with other operational products related with the space weather conditions. So the idea is that at a certain point, these experiments, through these experiments, we'll get connected to the ISOC, to the Italian SSA Operational Center, and we'll play with some coordinates and with some tasks just to see what is the level of the risk that we encounter in those conditions, and try to feed inside the experiments some indications in terms of space weather that might be related with the sun activities. Of course, in the real activities right now, the ISS is protected by NASA along with the Space Force, so there's already in place this kind of capabilities. But think about the idea that one day we're going to fly around the moon or get to Mars. We should have at that point an autonomous capabilities based on the spacecraft or the infrastructure available to support this kind of risk. So the idea is just starting to grow up our national capabilities to get this ready and available for international cooperation once we are dealing with the new infrastructure in LEO Earth orbit.
Thank you, Alter. We now have Xenia Ozkok on the line.
Hello, everyone. My name is Xenia Ozkok, Astropreneur, Türkiye, and I would like to address my question to Alper Gezeravcı. Hello, Alper. First of all, thank you so much for addressing a crucial topic, meaning the recent earthquake that Türkiye experienced in February 2023 that is still fresh in our minds. Can you tell us if any of the 13 experiments you'll be conducting during this mission have potential applications in disaster management or recovery? And if so, could you elaborate on how they might contribute to such effects? Thank you.
Thank you so much again. That's a really valuable question, Ksenia. As you know, the selection process has been going on for quite a long time, since 2022. So the selection process of the experiments that we will be carrying out was almost already completed when this unfortunate earthquake happened in February 6th. So unfortunately, we will not be covering any topic related specifically to the observations of the natural disasters, specifically for the earthquakes. However, as you might already know, Turksat has already been working on, together with some other research institutions, specifically on this topic, and already analyzing the different examples which has already been implemented in different parts of the world. So trying to combine that mutual effort, not only specifically for Turkey, but for the other parts of the world who are going through these kinds of natural disasters, for example, Japan. So that study has already been underway all the way up until now, and the efforts are already going on.
Thank you. It looks like we have another question from Jeff Faust.
Good morning. Jeff Faust of Space News. Question for Walter. You flew on a Virgin Galactic suborbital flight in June. How did that experience affect your training for Ax-3? And is it something you would recommend other people who are considering going on a flight to the space station perform as part of their own training? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for this question. Yes, the Virgin Galactic flight was an amazing experience. It was another part of the Italian Air Force and the Italian space strategy. So we are trying to gather experience in through all the different altitudes in between the normal airspace to the orbital space, and the suborbital is a part in the middle. So the mission was a kind of similar set as much as we are doing on Ax-3. We gathered together the National Research Council along with some private entities and of course the Italian Air Force. So we gathered together some experiments and we flew these experiments in our 3 minutes of microgravity flight. So from the training standpoint, I have to say that it was very useful to me as a kind of initial test flight where all the previous background as a cosmonaut and the training done in NASA and with Axiom was definitely useful to prove some approach and skills in those 3 minutes. Regarding the fact if I would suggest or advise to do for people that want to fly to the ISS, it's not strictly needed or necessary. So of course the training is different, the experience is similar in just last an hour and a half, you are going through all the stages of a flight, from the launch, microgravity, and then the re-entry. But it's definitely a nice platform to test and to strengthen all these training capabilities. So I would say that definitely, in my view, is an added value to put together this combination of different flights. And on top of that, I would say that I think it's really interesting to use this platform to test some preliminary experiments that then afterwards we can scale up and let them fly on ISS. So we can, I think in the future, it could be created some sort of synergies just to, again, expand the opportunities for research entities and industries to get to the microgravity and test their technologies.
Thank you, Alper. And just as a reminder, please ensure your line is unmuted whenever you begin speaking and ask the questions as clearly as possible so our crew members can hear you. We'll now begin again with Bill Baru. Another question, over to you.
Yes, hi. You've touched upon it and mentioned that space is a lot about collaboration, and ISS is currently lots of different countries up there. And so, but the current geopolitical reality on Earth is not always, it's not really the same. So my question is, do you think that space in some way stands above the geopolitics of Earth, or is it affected by it? And then in what way?
I'll take that question, I guess. Look, I think you hit the nail on the head. We're going through some difficult geopolitical times right now. Nonetheless, I can tell you that the NASA team works with their Russian counterparts every day, very closely. When I was on board the ISS during Ax-1, we had a similar relationship with the Russian crew. It is a symbol of how something like this kind of cooperation can withstand these geopolitical cycles, which inevitably happen from time to time. And I think it's a beautiful beacon of how cooperation in space can make life better on Earth.
It looks like our time is coming close to an end, so we'll take one more question from those online. Xenia, do you have one more question?
Yes, I do. Again, I would like to address the question to Alper. With such a culturally diverse crew, this mission has captured a lot of attention. Space missions often encounter with unforeseen challenges. From your perspective, Alper, do you feel that the cultural diversity of this crew provides a unique resilience or adaptability in the face of such challenges?
Thank you for the question again. That's also marking the importance of the harmony in between these crewmates, which I felt so happy all the way from the beginning. As you know, in the aviation throughout the world, we all had the chance to be able to work and cooperate with several people from several different cultures and nations. With that gained experience, this kind of a multinational crew environment in a completely different mission platform is going to give us a big opportunity to be able to cooperate and get benefit from different backgrounds coming from different cultures. As you might already know and noticed, you are also a person who has been adapted to our culture in Türkiye and had the chance to be able to observe the different aspects of both our cultures in comparison to different cultures. So each culture has their unique rich points to come up with in terms of reactions, in terms of the handling of different conditions and situations. So we actually take it as a big privilege and opportunity to be able to really benefit from the different cultures, backgrounds, as well as the experience levels coming from different fields. So that's a great chance for us to be able to serve and carry out this mission, not only at a national ground, but in an international ground, together with all these great people coming from different backgrounds.
Thank you, Alper. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. For any follow-up questions, you can send them to media@axiomspace.com. You can follow the Ax-3 mission on our website at axiomspace.com/AX3 and on social media via the hashtag AX3. Thank you again for your time, and go Ax-3.